Welcome. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today? It's so very nice to have you here. And today I want to speak a little bit about our upcoming program, the 6-month program for returning students. We have been working together for a while now, and I'm deeply touched by the level of trust and by the connection that we share. You have all done a 6-month program before, so you know already how powerful it is to make this longer commitment to presence and to inquiry. And you also know how deeply transformative our time together is. What lies at the core of our work together is that this is our lifetime. This is our invitation to freedom. This is our time to address the tendencies that stop us from fully resting here. In this year's program, I want to invite you to deepen your recognition of presence and into awakening and freedom. I also want to invite you to strengthen your discrimination, to learn new ways of inquiry, and to come into a deeper embodiment. This is really where it's at, for presence, for the recognition of presence to become fully functional. So come into a deeper embodiment while we continue to grow the capacity of our nervous system to be here. And this is another core, of our work together, capacity of the nervous system to be here. Without that, no awakening, no embodiment, no freedom. So as you know already, presence, our true nature, is already here. However, when past arises, it shows up in our physiology and it looks very, very real. So it takes our attention and it takes this real commitment to stop, to practice, to inquiry, to in a moment, to take a moment to really look at what arises here. And it also takes this very refined attention so that we can notice the sensations of our body, so that we can inquire and be present to what arises here, and eventually find our way back to peace and freedom. There are many areas that I want to address with you or speak about in this year's program, and I'm just going to briefly touch on that right now. Desire for freedom, willingness and practice. That's very, very powerful. How can the desire for freedom be very practical in a moment, rather than desiring truth or presence in the future? How can we translate it into the willingness to actually meet what arises here? I'm going to be speaking about awakening and embodiment, clarifying that. What is awakening, right? What is embodiment? What does happen also after awakening? What is really crucial for this piece of embodiment? The I arises in presence. How to identify it, how to inquire into it in a moment. Another area, embodiment of okayness, is the foundation for freedom. What I have noticed, even with students that have been doing this for a long time, when certain types of circumstances arise in your life, and the past gets triggered and arises, it's so very easy to flip into that sense of not okayness, right? And really, whenever you start to feel and think, I'm not okay, this is not okay, this is not going to work, this is, that's the past. And we have to be so adamant, so strong in our discrimination to not to go there, right? To really come back into the present, because not okayness is the past. Okayness, the embodiment of okayness, is really the foundation for freedom. We're going to speak about growing of the capacity of our nervous system to be here. This is a piece we have been working on for a while now, and of course there's always more that we can learn about that, and it is the foundation. This is so powerful in the moment, when so much arises, when past is triggered and there's thoughts and feelings and sensations and emotions, to really learn to come and notice the sensation in the body. Because not only it grows the capacity of your nervous system to be here, but it also uncovers the resilience, uncovers the resilience of, there's a little spider here listening. It uncovers the resilience of our nervous system, the natural movement of it, right? So it doesn't have to be affected by the arising past. And that, of course, so strongly brings us into embodiment and into, the true yes and no. Because when we are in the world, we are relational, you see. Being in the body is relational, right? And then being in the world is relational. There's, being in the world, it's a constant yes and no, right? Yes, this, no, that. Yes, this, no, that. This is a constant negotiation. And so often, because of our past, that flow is interrupted, you see. That natural flow where presence expresses itself in such a clear way, yes or no, right? That gets interrupted and affected by the past. And so we lose that resilience. We want to be able to uncover that, recover that. And also, this is going to be powerful, when it comes to being relational, being in a world. Because when I say relational, I don't only mean, relating to another, right? But I also mean being in a world, really recognizing and uncovering that resilience and that, capacity to follow the clarity of the natural yes and no that arises here. I'm going to speak also about, that's all connected, action that arises from presence versus action that arises from conditioning. We all know the results of the action that is based on the past. It just repeats it. It's just more of the same. We all know already, we have tasted at least, the results of action that arises in the present. I want to speak about the strategies that hide our sense of I. We all have our favorite stories, our favorite, ways in which we avoid being here. And oftentimes this is so familiar to you that you don't even recognize, you don't even know, you don't even think that this is, that this covers up your sense of I, because it's so familiar to you. Yeah, you say, that's me. How can we notice that, recognize that, become more aware of that? What is your core tendency? Your core tendency is survival strategy, because it's almost one and the same, right? How to recognize that, how to work with that. Very, very powerful, This brings us right back here. Again, being in the world means being relational, and I will speak a little bit more about that now, really more about, the one-on-one, meaning one with others relationship, right? I will speak about the survival strategies that become our way of relating. The survival strategies become the way we relate. Very powerful to see that, And then how can we address that? How can we be present to that? I will speak about honesty and communication. So, communication, it is so powerful, the way what is it that we communicate, and the way we communicate, how does it affect our relating and our ability to be here? A whole other area, learning to find comfort in the unknown. I spoke about it in our 6-week program a little bit this summer. The truth is we do not know. This is the truth, right? the mind creates an illusion, an ongoing illusion that we know, and that there is continuation, and that we know where it's going, and we know what's going to happen. And sometimes we have that, deeper sense of where things are going, or the premonition about future. But really, in truth, most of the time, we just don't know. That's the truth. And can we, first of all, recognize that? We don't know. This is how it is. This is just the mind. The mind just tells us, this is how it's going to be, right? But can we learn to live in the comfort of that? Can we find comfort in the unknown? Can we find comfort in truth itself, right? So often I see my own little mind, arising. Oh, what about this? What about that? And then I check in, and what's really needed in a moment is something very simple. Maybe we need to eat or sleep or go for a walk or do something, right? Has nothing to do with this creation, with this ongoing creation of the mind. I will speak a little bit about abidance in truth and projection, how we still project the sense of the world. The world is a projection, right? That arises in presence. And how can we recognize that? This ties with the, finding comfort in the unknown, recognizing that even though we are living here, in this relative world, in truth, in the core, our, nature and the nature of everything is presence. And how can we, keep recognizing that and keep coming back to that and keep living in that, even when we are in the midst of, engaging in a world. And, there's also other topics that I'm not speaking here right now. Finally, addressing the anxiety and insecurity around work, survival, and money. This is, the moment you are in the world, this type of past is going to arise. And it's very rich, it's very enlightening, and it's very powerful. It's a powerful doorway to presence, because these tendencies need to be seen, need to be addressed, need to come to rest. So I'm very happy and excited about our time together this year. And of course, I want to invite you to join me, and I hope to see you there.